welcome back to Earth. It must feel like you've been in outer space, at least in a way.
Yeah, a little bit. You could compare it to that for sure. I mean, there's nothing that you can prepare you for, being in a mask, in a suit, not being able to talk to people, not being able to tell people who you are or introduce yourself. I found myself accidentally introducing myself outside of the show as Astro, and caught myself one time and had to learn a lesson from it. But yeah, it was a brilliant experience, honestly. All that said, it's a fun show. Everybody that works on the show does a great job of just keeping it upbeat. The whole thing is meant to be about expressing yourself, I think, or at least it allows you to express yourself. And I think they encourage you to do that anyhow you can't actually talk. It's a great way to sort of just have fun and find out a lot about your own, sort of personality or, yourself through music.
Who in your life was the hardest person to keep this secret from? You accidentally let Astro slip, but what was the ramifications of that? Did anyone in your family or inner circle know going in?
Very few people. I think a total of 4 people knew what I was doing. 2 of them being my roommates and the other 2 being my parents. But even my parents, like we talked about it at dinner this one time, right before I left for Los Angeles, because they're not used to me being gone for such a long period of time. I knew that I was going to be working on an album, but I normally return back home every 2 weeks or so, check on my dogs and, check on things. And I was gone for months at a time. And I finally told them, I think it was right before Christmas, what I was going to Los Angeles for. And I said the name of the show one time and they never said it again. They never talked about it, even while I was in LA. And they would call, we'd check in. They wouldn't even ask about it. I would have to say, they'd be like, how's everything going? I'd be like, good. The morning job's going well. It's treating me well. I haven't gotten fired yet. That was my way of saying that I hadn't been unmasked. I said, I haven't been fired. So, it was really hard to keep the secret from friends. Because even though I was working on an album, I think they just expected to drop by and I'd be home. Because that makes sense. Because we make the album. We got this awesome Airbnb and we set up the studio and friends would be like, "Hey, can I stop over?" And we'd be like, "No, please don't. Nobody's there, and we don't want to explain why." So yeah, it was a blast.
Well, fans seem to know that it was you from the very beginning. But Nicole was the only judge who guessed correctly. Did you expect her to figure it out because you performed together, or were you surprised she got it at the very last minute when she said your name? How did you react inside the suit?
Both. I was surprised that anybody guessed me, and I was also surprised that I didn't give myself away too early. Not that I expect any of them to know who I am, but I think if anything, I don't know. I expected there to be some sort of influence that would tell them sort of who I was and give it away. But I was shocked when she got it at the last minute. Of course, I didn't know that it was last minute, but I was a little surprised, honestly, because with all the clues, there were a lot of clues that were very accurate, and there were a lot of clues that were very much meant to throw people off. So I was shocked.
What were some of the more successful clues, do you think, where you're like, yes, I got him, I threw him off the scent?
Well, are you talking about the clues that throw people off?
Yeah, or any favorite ones where you're like, oh, I didn't expect them to pick up on that, or either way.
Yeah, I loved the ones that I knew the fans would get, because we have a lot of themes in my music and we talk about it, and there's a lot of consistency with certain themes, and I was really excited to have this code language with my fans. There's a thing there was a code blue, which I knew that my fans would get because my last album was Wild Blue and it was all about flying. We talk a lot about flying because I'm in an astronaut suit. And there were a couple other things, things that reference Louisiana, and I don't know, it was kind of the clue package I felt like a chance for me to kind of write a little secret letter in code to the people that have sort of supported me outside of The Masked Singer, and now sort of feeling like I have a whole new family.
And you said last night that this felt like hitting a reset button for you. Can you expand on that? Do we have a new Hunter Hayes upon us?
Same me, but I think a new appreciation, a new, I have a brilliant opportunity in front of me, and I started with Wild Blue Part 1, the last album that I put out, exploring more territory. I think there was a lot of there's a lot of things that I hadn't allowed myself to explore, both like lyrically and musically, just because I felt like I was supposed to kind of fit in a certain thing. And I think Wobbly Part 1 was the beginning of me sort of exploring everything else that I wanted to try and write about and talk about and have in my music. And now kind of entering into Red Sky Part 2 of like this trilogy. The show came along at the perfect time because it allowed me to do things outside of what would seem like my comfort zone, and hopefully kind of show the world that I have there's so many things that I'm influenced by. There's so many things in music that I love, and I want my music now to represent that. I want everybody to see all the things that I love, not just certain bits, but every bit of it,
Yeah, so for someone who plays dozens of instruments already, it must be hard to find a new musical opportunity you haven't already crushed yet. So what drew you to the show to line up with working on the new album?
Well, I knew that there would be challenges. I knew that there would be a whole slew of things, obviously, that I've never done before, dancing being one of them. Because my thing about dancing, I move a lot on stage, but I've never had choreography sort of training of any kind. What I loved about that was I had to be comfortable in my own skin in order to, even though I was, under a mask, which helped with my confidence level, I'll be honest. I knew that was also just going to be a great way for me to just be comfortable in my own skin and be comfortable being myself in front of people. And even though on stage, I do feel that way, and it's ironic that on stage is where I feel the most myself, even though I'm kind of naturally a more shy person, I guess.
A lot of performers
the
are.
show just kind of helped me embrace who I am and really be proud of it in every sort of facet of life.
Yeah. And Ken always comes through with some outside the box guesses. I'm betting you didn't see Eddie Vedder coming. Any others that you never would have predicted? They were really stuck on JTT for a minute too.
Yes, that happened, and it kept happening, and I was shocked that it kept happening. The Eddie Vedder was definitely a shocker for me. We made a lot of jokes behind the scenes about that one, just because we're fans of his, but I cannot figure out how that connection happened. But yeah, that was probably something I did not expect. I expected the guesses to be a little bit closer to, I don't know, closer to me or whatever. But they were just all over the map. I mean, it was all over the place, and I had to laugh about it,
Well, we understand the contestants are isolated from each other, so you also have no idea who's behind any of the other masks, but we got to know your top guesses.
Oh, I
know going forward, to kind of keep it in, but maybe those that we already know. Were there any that you guessed from the beginning, or anyone who really caught you off guard? Like, oh my God, I had no idea that was that person.
Well, I mean, JoJo has a very identifiable voice. So I even though I had my questions about that, and there were things that threw us all off, I think we kind of had a good feeling about that on the first episode. And by the second or third, I think we were all pretty confident about it. Or second or third day, I should say, working in rehearsals and things like that. But honestly, I mean, they do a good job of keeping us isolated from each other as well, even for each other's performances. You don't really get to, you don't really hear anybody else's performance. It's very top secret in that the only thing you focus on when you're on the show is your own performance and your own, choreography, your stage rehearsals, all those things. So, so yeah, honestly, I didn't even see any of my performances until they aired on national television.
And you're watching right along with the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm experiencing it right along with you. Yeah.
So who do you think is going to go all the way? Can the turtle be topped?
Oh, I think Turtle can win. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Frog, massive fan. But yeah, I don't know. Turtle is just so talented and such a great performer. And even though we were competitive, I feel like because we were competitive, we kind of accidentally bonded silently without being able to talk to each other. You know what I mean? Like that experience together. I'm a fan. I'll be waving. I'll be cheering on Turtle to the very end.
Nice. Okay, the costume. You mentioned that performing in it actually kind of gave you a chance to really be yourself in a way you didn't expect. But are you a claustrophobic person? What was the hardest adjustment just physically?
I've been in very confined spaces, and I didn't think I was going to be claustrophobic. And for the most part, I wasn't. There was only a couple times. I think there was this one time I was just drenched in sweat. I was like, I gotta get out of this thing. But for the most part, they did a great job with the costume design. I mean, I felt comfortable in it. At first it felt stiff, and then I realized that it was actually very flexible. And if I just did what I normally do, it would work with me. And I also am very attached to the helmet. I think the field of vision was great, even though it was kind of like, it was painted in gold. So anytime there was spotlights on it, it was very reflective, and that was exciting. But for the most part, I mean, I got really comfortable. And I don't know if it was just because it was such an emotional connection with like Astronaut, because I'm always talking about flying and you know, the unknown and adventure and stuff like that. I don't know if it's just because of the emotional connection or because of the experience that I had and it being so fun and enjoyable, but yeah, I feel really connected to the suit now. It's really bizarre. It's really strange in the best way possible.
Yeah, it became an alter ego of sorts.
A bit, yeah, a bit. Yeah.
You posted that Instagram story yesterday of futzing with the motorcycle helmet. Was that just a little tease for fans?
Yeah, it's like the first time I've been able to talk about it with anybody. So that was kind of my fun way of kind of hinting at.
A little tip of the helmet, if you will.
Yeah, tip of the helmet. Yeah, well done, well done.
So Wild Blue Part 2, we know it's called Red Sky, as you mentioned. How is it coming along, and everything that's going on right now with self-isolation and quarantine, is this facilitating the creative process?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody, right? You just kind of figure out what you have and you do the best with it. So for me, I mean, the album's coming along brilliantly. I could not be happier with where it's at and where it's brought me. I think it's been the adventure that I was looking for, you know? Wild Blue was kind of like dreaming about the adventure and talking about it and planning it. And this is like getting in the car and going and taking off. Yeah. No pun intended there, but also maybe intended. So I think, you know, whereas we were going to be on the road a little bit and I was going to be making the album sort of in between tour dates, I'm taking this time to really dive into the music, and it's been absolutely brilliant because I've written more for the project than I originally had. And I'm continuing to write for the project, which normally I kind of put a cutoff date, or not a date, but I stop writing and focus on making the album, right? But it's been a really inspiring journey to really be able to dive in and process the record and process these songs and these messages, and just kind of feel like I'm living in the album. It's been brilliant, and I think the album is coming to life because of it, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. And you also mentioned you're very single at the moment. It's hard to mingle these days, but are you exploring any quarantine dating strategies right now? Online hangouts? It's a whole new world.
It is a whole new world. Not really, if I'm honest. It kind of makes me feel lazy, but at the same time, I feel like whatever introduction is supposed to happen will happen naturally at some point, right? I don't know, man. That's such a weird topic. You know what I mean? I don't know how you. I mean, I get it. You know, we have to make do with what we got. I don't know. I think I'm using this time to really focus on the music, but also on myself. I think I learned a lot about myself through the writing process of this album. And I'm continuing to learn a lot about myself. And I think that work's really important before I kind of pursue anything else.
Sure. And what about when this is all behind us and we're able to engage in the world and you can share your music with people in person?
I can't wait. I honestly can't wait. I think all of this will make the shows 10 times better. Because I'm able to use this time to sort of train. I mean, the show is a great time for me to train and get to know my voice a little bit more, get to know my performing habits, and get and sort of undo old habits and get better at sort of finding the most direct way to express myself and perform naturally on stage. I'm comfortable on stage, but I think this whole chapter has helped me really, really feel at home in more ways than I ever have, and I think spending this time just I'm pointing to my studio on the other side of the room, but I think this time is really allowing me to really connect with my music in a way that I never have before. And I know that the first shows that we play, any show from here on out is going to have a whole new meaning for me, and I think it will for the fans too.
Yeah, and before we let you go, going into the show, what surprised you most about the experience? What did you expect going in versus how it actually unfolded?
I gotta be honest, I didn't know what to expect. And I don't think there's any way to prepare anybody for what to expect. I I think one of the most surprising things was just how fun it was. I didn't expect it to be as fun as it was. I expected it to be a lot of work, and I'd signed up for that. I signed up because I knew it would be full of challenges, and I'd push myself and learn new things. But I didn't expect to have as much fun as I did. The team is great. The whole show, everybody that works on the show, is super upbeat. They enjoy what they do. They're passionate about what they do. They know that what they do brings joy to other people, and they know that what they do, this show kind of gives everybody a place to go. It's very family friendly and all those things. And you feel that backstage, even though you're locked up. I mean, we practiced quarantining before everybody else did, right?
Right.
But even that being the case, it was still a blast. You know, the people that I worked with, I wish I could take them with me. You know, I got really lucky, and I'm still working with a couple of people that I met on the show actually, and I'm very grateful for that.
And when we do find out who Turtle is or any of the others, are you going to maybe keep that connection going once everyone's identity is out there?
I'd like to. I think we all experience something very unique, and we owe it to ourselves to continue bonding over it. You know, so yeah, for sure.